because you know why? He be the supplier, I think, for that. Yeah. I bet. So you say when you lunch tomorrow?
Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, let's go over the mayor's interview with Yonkers Voice.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics, bringing it back with an old promo. Good evening, folks. I am Freddie Vasquez. And what you heard there was just one of my many sources discussing an individual who was caught with 100 grams of cocaine, and that was covered up. And so you don't think they covered things up here in the city of Yonkers? They absolutely do cover things up here in the city of Yonkers. Most definitely, if you are a part of the nepotism system, and especially if you are someone who knows information about certain individuals, specifically within the administration, that they do not want to come out. You will have certain privileges and perks, benefits that others will not have. If you get arrested with 100 grams of cocaine, you will see those charges disappear. And as we are learning, you may even get away with hit and run and killing a 16-year-old child. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Tonight, I want to talk about Mayor Mike Spano and his interview with the Yonkers Voice and go over that interview. And let's see what he is saying and if he is saying is true. And he talks about education, affordable housing. He talks about jobs and smoking marijuana. That's right, smoking marijuana with Ruros. Let's get into it, folks. Today, I actually went by the 23 Water Grant Street. I wanted to show a little bit of, of the area and where the Teutonia was going to be going up. Give you a perspective from the owners who live there and don't want to see it go up. I mean, this is a problem, folks. It started out as, 20 story, 25 stories. Now they're changing the zoning laws again to do 40 stories. Where does it end? We have to nip it in the bud, to use John Rubo's words. We have to nip it in the bud. Folks, this interview that Mayor Mike Spano recently did with the Yonkers Voice, he talks a little bit low. Hopefully you can hear him. I'll, do the best I can to raise the volume here. But let's just get right into it. I've been talking about this nepotism thing. I've been talking about the need for change here in the city of Yonkers. Again, I'm not saying let's stop progress, right? Progress will continue, but it must continue with a fresh perspective, fresh ideas, fresh people that want to see the city really benefit everyone. All changes that are happening to benefit all. And as we're seeing, it's only benefiting a few. And there's a lot happening here that many do not know. And now I am exposing that. So people are, saying, I love the show. Thank you. It's, informing me on things that did not happen. So now I'm kind of being, put to the test here. So I want to make sure that I'm always going to give information as best as possible. And tonight I want to give some more information. Let's talk about Mike Spano, the Ludlow Project, and what's the deal with that. Why is that such, a topic of, and when I think of the Ludlow, I think of Mike Cater's lawsuit. I think of the FBI, and I think of the Spanos. Think of Joe Cotter. Think of Ginsburg. Think of James Sertivo. And now I'm learning of another man named Anthony Morrow and Saviano Enterprises, and we'll get into that in a second. Let's go into the interview here.
I wanted to start about certain things, but I'm going to do the reverse. There is something going on in the nation, okay, about social injustice, about escalation of issues involving police officers, And if it wasn't for those cameras, okay, we would probably never know what really happened. But your city, our city, it's a city that can set an example for many.
Under a Department of Justice investigation. I was brand new mayor then, and the Department of Justice said, we're investigating your town for being aggressive, for maybe having a system of racism in place in policing. And that's what Yonkers was under investigation for. And I was a brand new mayor, and we were faced with the possibility of losing control of this department. We were faced with the possibility of having a court monitor put in. We were faced with the possibility of signing a consent decree. And this was all stuff that, when you think about it, it happened 40 years ago when Yonkers was forced into a dual desegregation order, their schools and their communities. And I wasn't going to have that. I wasn't going to have us go down that same path of defiance. Instead, I worked with the Department of Justice. I worked in the police department.
Sorry, I was going to say that the police department has improved greatly. So I want to start off positive, right? Let's start positive, right? He is right here. He's speaking facts here. The police department has improved, right? Ever since he put in Chucky Gardner. It's probably the best thing that he's done, right? Chucky Gardner became police commissioner. Chucky Gardner put in a lot of policies, changed things up to set the police department on a path to where they are today. All right, and we like to, I like to think, and I'm sure many would agree that they have come a long way. The officers out there on the street do a great job, and we don't see people getting beat up, taken to 242nd Street, taking their shoes and jackets in the wintertime and telling them not to come back to their home in Yonkers again. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. Or being taken down to the pier and given a few punches. Although I'm sure that the drug dealers preferred that over going to jail and having to see a judge and dealing with that process any day of the week. But those days are over, and our police department has improved. However, there are small changes that still need to be made within the police department. And from what I've been seeing, and from my conversations with Anthony DiMaggio, my research, a lot of those changes are with those that have been in the department for quite some time, those that are higher up, and not necessarily with those that are on patrol in the streets now, the young, fresh officers, men and women who wear the uniform, right? But many of the older generation who are slowly filtering out and retiring, they still seem to present a problem here in Yonkers. And I say that because we are having an issue with the case of C.J. Hackett. And from what I'm hearing, information that I'm receiving, in my best opinion, I believe that there's something that was done that they don't want you to know. And I hope that it is discovered and CJ gets the justice, his family gets the justice they deserve. And we will continue to seek justice for CJ. So things like that need to change. And that's all part of this nepotism system that exists here in the city of Yonkers, the political corruption that ultimately starts at the top. So, yes, Mike Spano, you're right. The police department has improved. Shout out to the Yonkers Police Department. I don't want to play much more about the police thing because it just seemed like Ruros wanted to attack the police. He seemed to have an issue with the police. He kept wanting to get the mayor to say, but there's still people that, escalate things, right? He says, they have a problem with escalation. So to the police department, listen to this guy, right? He's trying to make you guys look bad. And you basically, are the reason why he makes money, know, you guys, your jobs, he's making money, and people's tragedies, right? If your family member overdoses, you know, which is something that happens to millions of Americans, it's not something that you should look at yourself or your family member as a bad person or anything, and they shouldn't be having their face blasted. But that's how he makes his money. And so I'm not sure what his issue was with the police.
And allowing the community to see exactly what they're filming, and allowing the community to see exactly what's involved, that the police department could or should allow the people to see that and use that to be as an example for other police departments. But sometimes, sir, I see escalations from certain police officers, not all, very small percentage, escalating things
Look at his
that
face.
shouldn't be escalated. Because look
at his face.
I never went to a de-escalation training. I never went to sensitivity training.
So he's very upset about the police, and maybe that's something that happens out when he's there filming and, you know, chasing after different incidents. They're doing their job. You have to stay out their way. So let's move on anyway to something else.
And tainted your whole police department. So that needs to be addressed.
Oh, 32 minutes. Wow. I'm sorry. 32 minutes still.
Interview, you give me an exclusive.
Yes.
Right? I hope you work on that one. What am I going to tell Ben today? Mayor, let's start with housing.
Here we
see
go.
all these new buildings coming into town. Yes. We happy. There is investors coming, there is new housing, but there is a sad part to that, to that equation. Yes, new investors, new housing. On the other side, we see people living in the city of Yonkers, people that been living here for many generations, because they can no longer afford to live in our city. The city that now it's becoming a vision, because look, I remember Yonkers from 1978 to now. I have seen the change. I have seen the change that you have.
You know, when you build workforce housing, affordable housing, people, especially people who are struggling, you can build in different ways. You get the developers to build it. That's what we do with the 10% ordinance. We get the federal government, the state government, and the city, the local government, to subsidize, especially through not-for-profits like West Ham and all, and using shelter rents, we're able to promote the building of new units. And so, out of the 12,500 new units that we authorized in Yonkers, so that's a pretty significant number. Nearly 3,000 of those units are affordable, and that was important to us. And that's 20%, about 20%. Maybe somebody check the math, right? But we're in the neighborhood of 20%. And so, and that's good for us. I mean, we're exceeding our own affordable housing ordinance using many of the different tools, whether it be tax credits or outright federal dollars or state dollars, or like I said, we're using our own IDA to offer incentives to companies to build this type of housing. But we also went a step further. We took MACI, our Municipal Housing Authority, and we entered into agreements with not-for-profits using state and federal money.
To geez, this button. I said that the fact is, Mayor, that people are leaving the city. Yonkers is becoming more expensive to live, and people are not able to find quality, decent, healthy, safe, affordable housing here in the city of Yonkers. They have not really made that a priority. And he says that we're exceeding our ordinance that we'd have currently at 10%. But how so? I gave you guys an example of the AMS Teutonia, the 906 unit building going up on Buena Vista. That's going to only have 45 units set aside to be affordable housing for those who qualify. That's less then 5% technically. It's 906 units. And he's only, or they're only allowing 45. So that's not exceeding, actually. That's falling short. And I want to know, are they going to put that money for the additional 5% that they are not going to include into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund? And how much is that going to be? And then what will that money go towards? And John Rubo said something that I didn't really like. He said, "I'd like to see some of that money going towards, landlords or owners of properties who have multi-families, who are going to rent out one of the units, and they're going to make it affordable, but they have to live in the property. It has to be owner occupied, which is BS, because they'll find a loophole where the person won't live there, or the person will lie, said I lived there, but they really won't. And are they going to go check? So what you're going to have is investors coming and taking that money that's in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to utilize it to fix up their properties. That's what they do, right? They find the loopholes, and that's what they've done. The mayor had an opportunity to show that he really cared about the people and those who are in need of affordable housing. He knows. He said it himself. The average person in the city of Yonkers earns $35,000 a year. So why then would he put a master plan that would include putting so many market rate luxury apartments that the average person in the city of Yonkers could not afford? Why? You look at a one bedroom, $3,000 a month. Do the math. $36,000 a year. If you're making $35,000, you're falling short by $1,000 just to cover rent. Well, what about food? What about clothing? What about transportation? What about healthcare needs? And so much more. He doesn't care about the average person. And he's not doing this for the city employees who are making over $150,000 a year, because many of them don't live in Yonkers. He's doing this for the people in Brooklyn, the people in Manhattan, who are paying $4,000 or maybe even $3,000, but they have a studio or a room, and they don't mind a one bedroom for $3,000. And so they're going to come up here and they're going to push the rest of the folks out. And like I gave an example of Mulford Garden, they knocked it down, and they did the same with Cottage Garden, which they changed the name, Cottage View, whatever. They knocked it down, rebuilt them, but came back with less units than they had before, essentially reducing the amount of affordable housing for people and low-income housing, because ultimately they're filtering people out. And so that's why he put a bunch of spin on it, and he couldn't even do the math. He said, I don't know, but somebody have a calculator, right? So that's what the mayor is doing there.
And local tax breaks, IDA, because I know a lot of people will bring up IDA, sure, local IDA. And we rebuilt all 2,000 units of municipal housing. All 2,000 units. The only city in New York to completely rebuild its affordable housing stock.
Not true. Mulford Gardens had 500 units. It went back with only 100 or so units. That's not true, Mayor. That is a lie. Let's go to the next topic.
I always say that there is always room for improvement. Nothing is ever perfect, but there is always room for improvement as long as we know what those imperfections might be. Now, Mayor, let's talk about something that you always talk about, and you talk about with pride. Education, graduation rates, money that is coming into Yonkers for the education aid. Let's talk about the local aid to education, that it's coming in, already came in, how happy, what that's going to be dedicated.
Look at his face.
The people of Yonkers.
Well, listen, one thing that I take pride in is the fact that we really focus hard on education. Previous administrations have always taken a position. When Mayor before me said, when the school district was facing a $100 million hole, to just shut the lights off on your way out, because New York State's got to be schools. And that was something that I said right from the onset. Kids and art schools are art schools. It's our responsibility. We're going to go to Albany best we can. But at the end of the day, we're gonna make it work. And as a result, we couldn't put everything back initially. You remember, I didn't have a full day pre-K, right, when I first came here. But what we did was we put a little bit back every single year, a little bit back of the pre-K, a little bit back of the music and sports and arts, and we didn't let anybody off. Even if it's $55 million issue the Board of Education had under Dr. Perazio. Remember, we refused to talk about layoffs because why? Because we were going to go to Albany, we were going to have a plan. We merged 5 different departments, the Board of Education and the city side, merged them together, shared those numbers, shared those services. We didn't lay off one teacher in what was a $55 million mid-year cut because of the mistake that was made by the Board of Education. We never, because I never want to be in a position where the residents of the city look at a problem and go, wow, my elected failed us.
Yes, they have. You have. And again, this year, our state delegate, we're up in Albany again, begging for more money for our schools, because any additional money Mike Spano is going to put elsewhere, probably to real estate or some form of development here in the city of Yonkers. So they were up there once again begging for more money from the city. From the state. And Mike Spano, yes, he that whole $55 million thing, right? He says we were short $55 million, but again, that was just poor accounting, I guess, or a mistake or an accounting error. They accounted for money that they were not receiving. And so it looked like, or it appeared that there was $55 million missing. And then they said, oh, well, no, actually it's money that we accounted for is not going to be coming in. And then now we're going to be short that money because it's not coming in. They couldn't figure it out. But the mayor used that as a reason to combine both the city and the school budgets together and put them under his control, which he now manages along with his people, firing all the other school people, getting rid of them, and under the guise of saving the city money. This is how we're going to keep from cutting school employees. We're going to fire other people, municipal people, right? But it really was all the people that had to do with managing the budget and stuff on the school district side, people that he didn't control. So when he got a hold of that budget or that amount of money, he can manipulate it as he has done so for the past, I don't know how many years now, because nothing has improved in our schools. Absolutely nothing. We have a sports program. I don't want to go too negative because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's not really a healthy sports program. It, I guess, provides something for the kids, maybe it's like intramural, right? But when you are used to or have seen a healthy sports program in the public school system, you know that we are lacking tremendously here in the city of Yonkers. When you've been to a public school system that is not run by corruption and nepotism, you will know that the city of Yonkers has failed our kids every year since they cut all those programs. They cut the sports, music, and arts. And once those cuts were made, if they had to be made, should have been the number one priority of any administration to get them back ASAP. But they didn't care about your kids. They didn't. They saw the numbers. Those that we care about, the people with the money, are going to send their kids to Catholic school, Stepanak. That's who we care about. They donate, they vote, their voices are louder. We want to fix up Yonkers for those few people, and that's what's happening now. They don't care about the schools, and they haven't brought much back at all. How many people have complained about their child's IEP, have yet to get the services that are required per their IEP, which is a violation of the law, which ultimately hurts kids. My kid's bus just got a monitor. My bus, or the kids' bus that my kids ride, has been in 3 accidents just this year alone. And now they have a bus monitor. My kids had to speak with police after an accident. They were interviewed. I mean, how many people want to put their kids on a school bus that's been in 3 accidents so far? The year's not over. You'd hope that there'd be no accidents in the entire time that they're going to elementary school. But I get it. Things happen. Maybe once. What is going on here in our school district? And I'm not saying we don't have great people working there. I'm not insulting anyone. It's not about you, teachers. It's not about you, administrators. It's not about you, staff members. This is about the kids and what they are getting. I don't care about you guys. Not that I, don't care like that, meaning, but I care about the kids. You are there for them. That is why you have a job. And my wife is an assistant principal. So I'm talking to her too. Right? And I'm not saying it's her fault or any one of you's fault. What I'm saying is that we need new leadership because our schools have been neglected for far too long. And I would only imagine how many kids have not done as well as they probably could have if they had a better school district here in the city of Yonkers. But we cannot move forward with improving our schools if we do not remove the nepotism and the political corruption that exists here in Yonkers, that not only makes it unfair in terms of work competition, but also makes it unsafe for our kids to begin with, as in the case of C.J. Hackett. We want to make sure our kids get to school safe. So we must remove the nepotism and the corruption. It's a must. Otherwise, your children will continue to go to a school district that, quite honestly, is an embarrassment. And this is not to speak of the people that work there, but they don't have much to work with. And it's time that changes. That's all I'm saying.
And we can't. They're in a situation where, frankly, people who can vote will vote with their feet and they will leave. And those who don't have the ability to leave, they don't have the money, they're struggling families, are left here to suffer. I don't want people to live in Yonkers because they feel that they're left here to suffer. I want people to live in Yonkers because they're proud of the city and they're proud to live here and they like what Yonkers has to offer. And that's the kind of messaging that we really hear from you all the time.
He says Yonkers, he doesn't want people in Yonkers here because they feel like they've been left here because they can't afford to go anywhere else. People are leaving because they can't afford to stay here. People are leaving because they can't find a job here. A job that's going to pay them a decent living, or at least allow them to be able to afford those luxury apartments you and your brother Nick Spano are bringing into Yonkers, Mike. Not everybody's as wealthy as you, right? Not everybody's married to a, famous newscaster who makes millions of dollars. So you have to be considerate of those people, Mike, and their children who are not able to go to Stepanak. Or maybe don't want to go to Stepanak, right? Want to go to Yonkers Public Schools. I went to Yonkers Public Schools back when they had resources and programs and a ice hockey team like the high school I went to. They had gymnastics, lacrosse. Sports started at a young age. They had sports teams in 6th grade, and they were competing, these 6th and 7th graders. They had an 8th grade team, and then they had the 9th and 12th grade teams, the junior varsity, right? But they started them young, and so many from that school district that I attended, a public school district, Mike, got scholarships to D1 schools. That means Division I schools, colleges, universities, top tier schools, not Ivy League. Some did actually, right? And some did. We had kids that went to Ivy League schools, Stanford, West Point on a scholarship, a black male. We had kids that scored perfect scores on SATs. we had pep rallies, we had football games that included the entire community. So we felt like one community. The school district itself was very uniting to the people in that community. And it did so much for the students and the people there who took pride in their community because we were the Redskins. And what do our kids have? Unbelievable.
Some issues that are important to some people and not important to others. This viewer here, for him, weed is important. He says, we want legal weed here in Yonkers. By the way, Mayor, have you ever smoked weed?
No.
I'm just asking.
I couldn't do it when I retired.
Then you call me, okay?
Okay.
Then you call me up and we smoke.
I hate to be, the reason I hesitate, I hate one of those politicians that, like you're gonna look at it and go, yeah, I smoked it by the nail.
We heard that.
I just.
You from smoking,
I just, it's not been my vice of choice at this point in my life, but I keep on telling my wife that when I'm not married, I'm probably gonna try it out.
Mayor, I will tell you a little story. I tried it and I panicked because I thought that I forgot how to breathe.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, then I said,
Listen,
no.
I have sleep apnea, and I don't like not breathing, and I certainly don't like.
So while the mayor and one of his underlings there talk about smoking marijuana, our kids are failing, schools are failing, the roads are failing, our infrastructure is failing, our unity here in the community is failing. Justice for people in this community is failing. And these two are talking about smoking weed. Gordon High School used to be an academic powerhouse before the 1970s. Many graduated to Ivy League schools and became doctors, attorneys, captains of industries. You know, I've had a unique experience of seeing, people grow up very, very, very poor. That was me, and for the most part, not having really any future, or, hope, because it's just what did they have to have hope in, right? No one in their family has succeeded or was doing anything outside of probably going in and out of jail, on drugs, just in the neighborhood, doing nothing, right? And then I went to a place where, kids succeeded. They were focused on graduating and what college they were going to go to. And it didn't matter what color they were. They were black, white, Mexican. And, it made me feel like, I felt like an idiot. I'll be honest. I came there with the do-rag, the hat, the Yankee hat, the baggy clothes, and I thought I was the coolest thing. And I felt like the biggest idiot when I got there because here I am worrying about sneakers, Jordans, what kind of shirt I had on. These kids were concerned with what college they were going to get into. But first, their ACT score or SAT score so they can get into the college that they have been hoping to get into since a kid. Since a kid. That's what everyone talked about. It didn't matter what color, right? And so I had no choice but to say, hey, I gotta have to do something with my life. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna tell them I'm just gonna be this cool guy in the block. They didn't even have sidewalks out there, right? You had to have a car. I was gonna hang out. And so it got my ass in gear. And so they had opportunities there for me to explore and find what it was, I was interested in. And I found myself. But many kids here in the city of Yonkers don't find themselves. They don't have guidance. They don't have anything. This city's just becoming a big mess of people. Right? And the corruption doesn't really allow for true programs to be successful. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. These programs don't really succeed because they don't hire people for the right reasons. They don't do things for the right reasons. It's all about taking a picture, getting funding, saying I'm doing this, giving somebody a job that needs one. All the while, the purpose of that program, which is the kids that enter that program, are the least of the worries. And I'm not trying to, again, knock anybody, because people take this personal when I say this, and I'm sorry, it's not about you. It's about the kids. That is our future. That is how we better a community. Kids become successful, break the cycle of poverty, come back to their community like I did. I don't want to leave. I like to still be in the hood. Just because I have an MBA doesn't mean I don't want to be in the hood. Right? And communicating and hanging out with the people that are there that I grew up around and may still be there. But sometimes, you know, we don't have a lot in common after a while. And it's sad. And I want to see more for those kids. It's just, you know, I don't know.
Like anxiety that you get from Sycophants. And some people think
Lionsgate, sir. Yes. Look, most of us were happy when Lionsgate was coming to the city, and I think most of us are still happy. I'm happy to see Yonkers moving forward, studios, but lots of people thought that Lionsgate is bringing new jobs to Yonkers. But many people are saying no, they brought half a dozen jobs. There's not too many jobs there, maybe a few jobs, janitorial, mixed plumbing and all that stuff. What happened? Did something change after they moved in?
I mean, we're getting actually different opinion. They were in yesterday to talk to us about a couple of things. They basically tell us that they had about 200 jobs in the city.
Here, locally.
Yeah, and that's not the jobs that are associated with the fact that they're here, right? Because there are jobs associated with the fact that they're here, you know, catering, you know, that type of thing, right? But they are here.
Listen, he says there are only 3 studios. So he's talking about jobs here. I guess Rue Rose asked him, you know, we were promised these jobs when they talked about Lionsgate and, you know, the studio that was coming into town and these developments, but we haven't seen any jobs, right? Nobody. And I'm glad you're saying that, Rue Rose, because I've been saying that for a long time now. I saw one guy actually hired from the city of Yonkers, the one security guy. But no one else has really been hired to do construction, but they're doing a whole bunch of OSHA training. You got your certificate? Oh, you're going to be a contractor right away. That's nonsense, folks. If you don't know anything about construction, then I'm going to tell you, that's a bunch of BS for show to take a picture with their little certificate and their hard hat. That's it. It's not going to help them get a job because these developers ain't even hiring. So what they going to do anyway? And the studios aren't hiring because, again, folks, you just don't go to Lionsgate, fill out an application, and then get a call back for an interview. That's just not how it works. And they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Folks, to work at Lionsgate in the film production crew or do whatever sound stage, you have to have 3 to 5 years plus experience. You have to be in the film industry union or whatever their union is called, but it's a union, and you must be fully vaccinated. You have to know that. You have to be fully vaccinated. Well, maybe they changed that. I don't know, but a year ago, you had to be. And so who does that qualify here in the city of Yonkers? How many of you out here have 3 to 5 years of movie production experience? You're in the union, the movies union, production union, film union. Who? I know a friend who's been working in film production. You know, you see the guys out there when he started out holding parking spaces. You'll see them in the car. They'll put the cones out. They'll have one cone on top of their car. When the city puts the signs on the meter saying you can't park here on Saturday because, you know, they're going to be filming. And so you have to figure it out on a Saturday on your day off. Right. So that guy, he started off as that guy. Then he moved up to doing some other things, you know, finding locations. He was like a location scout. Right. But even that, he barely got in that. And he was having trouble even moving up. And he was having trouble getting some of his friends in. He's been trying to get his friends in from Yonkers way before we talked about Lionsgate. We've been doing this maybe 10 years now. On and off. And they're talking about this new school. He mentions the new school that's going to be built over there at the old Leak and Watts property. It's going to be a partnership between Syracuse University and Lionsgate. And it's going to be a high school for 500 kids. And they're going to learn all about the film studio. And so, you know, Yonkers is so diverse, and, you know, the movie industry is not as diverse as it should be. So Yonkers, with all its diversity, is going to train a whole bunch of diverse people, and they're going to all flood the movie industry, and they're going to make it all diverse. And it all started at Leak and Watts with Joe Cotter and Mike Spano. That's right. That's what he's trying to sell it to you as. The reality is, to get into the movie industry, folks, it's hard. I know. I used to want to get into the entertainment industry. My goal was, and I work hard, and I'm very persistent. You know, as some of you know, you call me resilient, right? Or relentless, right? And I did, but it's really difficult. It's not easy. You're as good as, you know, your last, whatever you've done. If you can't do it again, then you're out. There's no pensions. There's no guarantees. And there's a million people trying to do that same job. And so rather than focus on film and entertainment industry, you know, I know because you think probably we're a bunch of clowns and jokers. Why don't you improve the schools overall? Why don't you have Lionsgate just improve the schools that exist, or knock them down and rebuild new schools? Make state-of-the-art schools, right? And focus on a lot of different areas. Law, you know, want to be a doctor, you're interested in that, some medical programs, some partnership. Why don't you partner with St. John's now? Your family's all in the board. Why don't you say, hey, St. John's, would you like to do a partnership with our high schools? Those who are interested in becoming doctors and registered nurses and what have you, right? Like so many people I know that I graduated with in a high school that actually cared, in a city where the officials actually cared. So many of my friends in that school went on to do big things. That's why I know so many people in so many places. A lot of them went into government work. That's right. I had friends that were in the DOD, worked in the White House, high-level Air Force officers, you know, lieutenant colonels. And so I have this connection to a lot of me from Yonkers, Buena Vista. Right, because of the access to resources that I was provided in this high school. And I was only there 3.5 years, and it changed my life. And that's why I am going to continue to speak on our educational system here, because I would love to see it drastically change. I'm sorry, folks, no disrespect. Thank you, teachers. I love you guys. Thank you, administrators, but we need more. We need so much more for our kids. And it's not fair. It's not fair. So this is him talking about the film school here. Sell him a dream. Folks, trust me. I mean, do your research. You know, first of all, build the first school that you got going, all right? Because that one needs to be finished, all right? Build that school first, and we'll believe that there's going to be another school. And again, it's in 2 years. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. So don't vote for this man based on this idea that he says is going to be completed in 2 years. How so? Have they started working on the site? Because I don't think so. Have you guys changed the zoning in that area so they can actually do that? I don't know. Have they? He's talking about the Leaking Watts area, and he's also mentioning some studios that he cannot talk about just yet. But if you heard him earlier, he said 22 studios. So while, you know, people may not have jobs just yet, just hold off. Rule Rose, hold off. We have more studios. It's only 3 that have been built. Or 3, so I guess, I don't know, where's the 2 other ones? It's only 3 that have been built. He says we're supposed to have 22 studios here in the city of Yonkers. So to the folks at 23 Water Grant Street over there, yeah, you think it's you know, bad now? Wait till the 22 studios are built. Then what? You have all that traffic, vehicles from, you know, whatever, set production vehicles, people coming in and out, driving all through Yonkers. Where are these people going to be maneuvering through? 22 studios. They're building one. It's, you know, pretty much complete, at least the exterior of it anyway, is pretty much complete on Warburton Avenue, right across from the Department of Social Services. Narrow 2-lane street there on Warburton over there. What are they going to do with the Department of Social Services? Are they going to move that? Or are people going to be filming movies across the street while people are getting their assistance, you know, or their benefits, you know, across the street? You're going to have, like, you know, these fancy movie producers rolling up in their Maybach, you know, looking at the poor people going in for their food stamps? Or are they going to remove that Department of Social Services? Yeah, see you later. There's no need for it here. Because the people that are coming to live here don't require DSS. That's right. The real people that are going to be working the movie studios are not here yet. That is who they're building all these apartments for. Why do you think they're building so many? Not everybody's coming from Brooklyn. People are leaving the West Coast. And once these studios and the Hollywood on the Hudson is complete, guess who will be flying in over here? All those movie production guys who are now starting to leave the West Coast. They're doing a lot less production over there. So you have to see what else is happening elsewhere. Then you understand some things that may be happening here. And that's what it's truly, really about. And so when they do the Syracuse, the satellite college over there with Lionsgate and the film program that they intend on setting up there, because that's what it's going to be about, not our kids. It's going to be about the Syracuse film program, partnership with Lionsgate. The expensive Syracuse. Hope your kids get scholarships. And how will they select the kids to go to that film school? Is it going to be anything like they do now? Will people have to fight just to get their kids into a school for some hope of maybe being in the movie industry one day? Maybe they'll get discovered. And so they have to change all the zoning over there. And so, but first they have to buy up all the property, right? From a gentleman named Anthony Morrow. Anthony Morrow owns about 3 acres over there in the Ludlow Park area. And he's been selling it to the city, utilizing the YIDA and all that stuff. Interesting stuff. I put up some information. I'm done with this. He goes back to talking about weed. He really didn't say much. That was it. Affordable housing. He said, we put up a bunch of affordable housing. We put back every single one we took down or whatever. But that's not true. Go look it up. Do your research. Mofa Gardens came back with 400 less apartments. There haven't been as many affordable housing units being built. And he says that Yonkers is exceeding the housing ordinance that's in place now, but that's not true. Look at the Teutonia, less than 5%. The housing ordinance now is 10%. So not even 10%. They're not even putting 90 units in that Teutonia. The people over at 23 Water Grant Street are, upset about the, blocking of their views and the sun and how tall it's going to be. 40-story building. 40-story building. They're passing these zoning laws just to appease the developers. And what's going to happen along Palisade over there, all those properties that are there? Why do you think they took out the Salvation Army? Think about what they're taking out, right? Salvation Army. They took out the sharing community, right? They're going to be taking out the Department of Social Services. Who's being affected? Who's being impacted? I wanted to show you some stuff real quick before I get off here. I don't know. I guess it's not on. But he didn't talk about, the city's finances, which is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Freddie, that's where we're going heavy on connecting the rail trails. It's all part of the Agenda 21 and UN Smart Cities. Look, they don't want to go there. I can't go there because people are going to say, Freddie, you got to stay on topic. But the reality is it is part of it. It is part of this mixed use development. And why is it that the federal government, Homeland Security, and I've looked this up, you can look it up, has given so much money to the city of Yonkers? Why? What do you think the city is getting the money for all those cameras that are going up? What do you think the city is getting the money for those facial recognition the cameras with the facial recognition software? Transit-oriented districts. That's what they're building there in the Ludlow Park. What does that mean, folks? Have you asked yourself, what exactly does transit-oriented districts mean? Agenda 21, UN Smart Cities. It's connected to that. They're changing zoning laws. And look, if you read the letter that James Nolan sent up to the state or whoever, one of his letters that he writes, and this letter I like. I kind of, it's in regards to, I don't know where my recent thing is not coming up, in regards to some changes that they're making in terms of the zoning laws, where you can put up, super tall buildings within a smaller footprint, just allowing for more buildings and more congestion. And that's what's happening here ultimately in Yonkers. We're becoming congested. We're having all these buildings built on top of each other, right? So they want people in the cities. People are easier to monitor when they are in the cities. They want this facial software, this facial recognition software in the cameras so they can track people easily. Smart cities. Mayor spoke about it. Mayor Spano. He spoke about the smart street lights, right? That they're starting to put up. Well, where are they getting the money for that? Because the mayor in the city of Yonkers is in debt. That's right. We're in debt. And although the mayor likes to say that we're doing a great job, no, the comptroller is saying otherwise. So basically, these are smart cities that are being created throughout the country. It's not just Yonkers. So they have this whole transient-oriented districts and mixed-use development. You hear that term a lot from our city council members, mixed-use developments, right? They don't want people to have cars, right? And by large, millennials are fine with that. Absolutely. It's so funny you say that, because today when I was down by the waterfront, the people that seem most happiest are these young millennials. They're just walking their dogs. They got their little fancy clothes on, but they're not really doing nothing. You guys are not really creating nothing. You're becoming robotic. And not to digress, not to go aside, you're becoming robotic. Right, but that's right. That's what they want. They don't want people to really have cars anymore. That's why they're going all electric, right? They changed the laws after 2036 or something. New York State you can't sell cars that are powered by gas, all electric. They put the smart meters in your homes. Why? What are smart meters? Anything that is smart or connected to Wi-Fi or the internet, 5G, all that stuff is not good to have in your home. That Alexa is not good to have in your home. And we're just allowing our freedom to slowly be taken away, our privacy be taken out. You're going to be tracked in real time. It is connected to Yonkers. And if you paid attention, they had one of those fancy schmancy cameras that recognizes people's faces at the term extension meeting. That's right. Vinny Spano and the Yonkers Intelligence Unit were at the library in the morning, and they were doing counter surveillance. Oh, you don't know that they do that? Absolutely. You don't think they do that to people who watch my show? Not to scare you folks. Absolutely. How many of you have gotten friend requests from politicians or certain people connected to politicians, or maybe that I might have talked about if you weren't friends with them already? Because I've had several people tell me that, yo, why is so-and-so now friending me? Why is Brian Harris friending me? Why is John Rubo friending me? Why is this person friending me? Because they are doing, political research, opposition research. I'm a threat to their, power. They're remaining in power by exposing a lot of this information, and some of it I've not, a lot of it I've not even talked about yet. Trust me, I just can't. It's not for me to talk about now, but it will come. And so I talk about what I can. Stuff that's obvious, that's right there already. You just have to put it together. Right. And so they had that facial software recognition thing or whatever, because they wanted to see who were the people that were opposing Mike Spano and did not want to end the term limit, or did not want term limits extended. It was that white camera thing, had the little ball hanging from it. And who gave them the money to buy that? Homeland Security. So, and in fact, in my security cameras, I can actually do facial recognition stuff too on mine. So they're even coming under home security cameras now. Right, or the business security camera. So that's what it's all about, folks. So I'm just, not to get all sidetracked, but it is. And so a lot of money these developers are getting is coming from the federal government so they can do these mixed use developments and these transit oriented districts, right? Bringing everybody to the cities, really. Bringing people to the cities, crowding them up, bringing people from across the borders and stuff into the cities. You see the billionaires buying up a lot of the farmland. That's happening too. Why? Well, everybody is going to the cities where they can be tracked and inventoried, right? And then they're not going to want you to have vehicles. You can take the Metro North. And that's what's going to happen over there on the east side, folks. I told you about that. They're already, and that's what James Nolan's letter was about. They're going to be putting a lot more, buildings and whether luxury or not over there on the east side, especially along the Metro. What is that? The Mount Vernon line that they have over there. So prepare for you guys to have your life disrupted and your lifestyle and your quality of life to be disrupted. That's what it's all about, folks. Unless we come out and vote, end this administration, that's when we create change and stop this. And I mean, this is only one city. I wish there were people like this everywhere. And they are, maybe. I would love for basement politics to spark a movement in local politics, right? Maybe they could do a basement politics, in every city and start exposing these corrupt elected officials, because this is not unique, right? And it's, people say, why isn't the, feds and the blah, blah, and the DA? I mean, look, the DA, Mimi Roca, no disrespect to you, Mimi, but I wish I could talk to you on my show. I wish, because I would tell you that you're not doing the best job. Okay. And I understand that AMS gave you that office space and they probably donated a bunch of buku cash, and you probably had the Spanos, I'm sure, and Zahi Jarrett behind you. And so you can't say nothing. But that presents a problem for the people, because the people rely on you to investigate corruption, bring people to justice. And instead, you don't. You pick and choose what it is you want to do, right? You go after innocent people like Mike Cater. You don't care about his family? Probably not, because people that are ending up in these positions, they don't care about other people. They lack empathy. They lack empathy. They are self-centered, arrogant, narcissistic. That's who many of these people are. And I know, because I've been around many, not just in Yonkers. I'm telling you, folks, not just a Yonkers guy, right? I've been around and I've seen these people. So, you can think I'm crazy or we conspiracy theorists, or you can start to really believe what it is, because that's what's happening, folks. Remember, folks, it's federal money that's linking that rail trail from Cortlandt Park to Getty Square. Rail trail from Cortlandt Park to Getty Square. Right? So they're going to go all the way down. They want to go all the way down to Battery Park. So it makes sense why you have a Wilson Kimball here who was down in Battery Park, and James Kavanaugh who were in Battery Park City Authority down there. So they want to have you're talking about that rail trail where they're going to bike and hike all the way up to Albany and beyond. And it's going to be like, you guys have been in Manhattan Beach. We stay there. I love beautiful. If you ever get a chance, right on the water, they have like this little trail thing. It's just for joggers, like a lane. You have the bike and run and stuff, and it goes right in front of all the homes right there along the water, the beach. And you could just chill out, sip your coffee. It's what my wife love to do. Hearing the waves, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, man. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics. We have to vote this year, folks. We have to come out and vote. Maybe if they say Trump buying a property, we might get them to come. They love coming for him. Maybe if you say Trump, yeah, Trump's buying up all the property out here in Yonkers. Where the feds at? Well, the feds are in Mount Vernon, right? They are investigating the superintendent and the board of the school district over there, right? And the board of education, right? And she resigned, or she was forced to resign, or she was fired, and there's a whole mess going on over there because listen, the mayor, Sean Howard, she's not from Yonkers, but she spent a lot of time in Yonkers. She was heading up the YMCA. Yeah, YMCA. She was the executive director. And so, I'm familiar with her from that. My wife is more familiar with her from working there also. Seemed like a nice lady. I don't know what's going on over there. I'd hate to say that Miss Howard is corrupt. I'd hate to say that about you, Miss Howard. You ever come on my show? I'm not gonna reach out to people no more, because if you want to come on, you reach out to me. But I don't know. She seemed like a very nice lady, but I do know she did an event over at the Castle Royale. I attended that event, and I know that Nick Spano was in attendance. And I did know she talked about development, and she said that Mount Vernon is not going to sell its real estate cheap. We know our worth. I don't know what's going on over there. I'm not in Mount Vernon, but if you guys want to give me info about Mount Vernon, politicwithfred@gmail.com. politicwithfred@gmail.com. I will take it most definitely. Anything else? I don't know. Yeah, really quick. I just want to give you some. I couldn't show it up, but I want to give you some stats about our economy, or according to the New York State Comptroller, really quick, just some fun facts. Over the last 10 years, the city's outstanding debt has grown by 22.4%. Now, this is the report from 2020, 2021. But I would only imagine it's the same, because the reports have not changed really. Every New York State Comptroller's report has pretty much said the same thing. And the service debt payments, right? The service debt payments made to, bonds that are issued when they want to do projects or whatever, has risen by 25.9%, right? And the city needed $82.2 million for its 2020-2021 budget just to service its debt obligations, right? So that's not good. That's not good. This is under Mayor Spano's watch. Again, and I've been saying this, it's all about money mismanagement. Oh, and here's why I wanted to talk about this guy, Anthony. So in 2021-2022 school year, Yonkers received, now I'm not going to talk about that. They received an increase of 21.9%, if you're interested, for the school year and foundation aid. New York State Comptroller, right? 2020-2021 budget relies on non-recurring revenue of $67.1 million. And this is a constant problem that the New York State Comptroller tells Yonkers. You guys rely too much on non-recurring funding. And that means money that's a one-shot deal, comes one time, but yet they put it in their budget because they want to make the budget look nice. They want to show it to you guys like that's what they did with the $55 million, nonsense to that whole scandal with the mayor and the school district, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So they make it look good with non-recurring funding, right? But it's not good because that money is really not, going to come again. So if we rely on, fixed, if we're going to increase our expenses, right, fixed expenses with, non-recurring income, then we're going to fail because we're not going to have that money next year, but we will have that expense. And that's what the city does. So when the mayor hires people, right, or gives promotions even more, because we certain things we need to hire. But when he gives promotions, right, and listen, hey, I don't care, right? It's about the city. He can't. He's giving promotions based on these one-shot like pandemic relief money and all this stuff, right? So then you get all the people hyped up and they think that it's all, but they don't tell you, oh, we're not going to get this. So then, right? So that's the problem. One of the problems that the comptroller has constantly told Yonkers, you got to stop doing that, relying so much on recurring. So, and then again with the overtime. Oh, listen, I mean, I'm sorry. The mayor's driver, right? The guy that retired, he made $1.3 million in his last 5 years as he drove the mayor. Over $1.3 million. Like that's it. There's people that won't see that their whole life. Right, he could have worked those last 5 years, put his money away, right, not pay nothing. Anyway, but he became a millionaire. This guy is a millionaire now. If he manages money right from the time he started in YPD. So, Yonkers is the place to come if you want to be a cop and a millionaire, right? This is the place you come. Yonkers, New York, attention, United States. If you want to be a police officer and a millionaire, come to Yonkers, New York. Because where else but Yonkers will firemen drive Porsches? That's right. Porsches, not old ones, new ones, Porsches, all right? Buy 2 Porsches at one time, you got money, right? But you became a fireman. I don't know. How does that work? I don't have 2 Porsches. Who has 2 Porsches? I mean, right? But this is a real true story. I'm not going to say no names. I don't want to, I'm not going to say no names, but it's true story, all right? I guess you get to the fire faster, right? But if you have 2 Porsches, why do you need to be a fireman? To pay for your Porsches? There's people on the list that are getting skipped that need the job. Wanted to be a fireman all their life, and they get skipped. So the New York comptroller says an overtime budget cost could potentially be $4 million over budget for the fire department. And that's another constant, criticism, I guess, that the comptroller makes about the city of Yonkers constantly, their overtime budget. They always go over their overtime budget by $4 to $5 million. It's not just the firemen, the police too. It's the police too. And so that costs the city money. That costs the city money. And so how is that done? Well, when you get these non-recurring, revenue, and so then you pay the overtime with that, right? All right, we got this non-recurring revenue. So they account for that. Let's give it the overtime, make them happy, make, the people that they want to come and flood City Hall happy, right? When they're giving DPW guys 20 hours each week in overtime, but we don't see it, our roads really. I mean, on top of that, I got to pay for flat tires, my suspension and all that. And now the taxes are increasing because we're giving the DPW guys 20 hours each a week overtime. Right. And so the mayor's nephew, Steve, I love you. Never met you, but I love you. Give me a hug. Right. You liked my podcast the other day, and you made $207,000 more than your base salary in overtime. So that's a problem. I'm just saying, right? Because we want to fix the school, Steve, and everybody else. We would love to improve our community overall. Right. It's not, Yonkers is not a place where you come and just get your money and get up out of here. Screw them. Because that's what I feel, that there's like a segment of individuals here in Yonkers that, employees maybe that kind of feel that way, right? You come in, okay, and I'm up out of here, right? And you don't really care about Yonkers because, I get it. You don't have your, you're not vested in here. This is just your job, right? It's like, when you go poop, right? And you don't live here, you know what I'm saying? And so, we have to make some changes, right? The city, Yonkers will spent up to $15 million in tax, and please help me say this word, certiorari. So what that is, if I, whatever, I pronounced it wrong, that is reassessment of property taxes, okay? So when someone feels like the city's charging too much or whatever, the property tax too high, they can have it reassessed, right? And so if they find that the properties were assessed wrong and they were, you paid more than you should have paid, then the city pays you money, that difference, right? Of what you paid, all right? So you paid them, $2,000 more. Here you go. So the city had to pay up to $15 million because they assessed properties wrong. And so this is what they had to pay back now in 2020, 2021 in their budget, $15 million. So the city decided to borrow the money to pay that. But here's one thing we gotta talk about, right? We should know. The people they're paying this money to are investors. So is this a scam? Is this a hustle? Are these investors in on some shakedown? And I'm gonna tell you here in this. I mean, where did my papers go? I don't see them loading up. Because this is an issue for an individual who has a lot of property over at Ludlow Park. And he's sued the city many, many times for this reason. Tax CTRERE. I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I know I have an MBA and some words I just can't pronounce, right? But again, he got a lot of money back because of it. He's won. He owns over 3 acres of property in the Ludlow Park area, which he's been selling to the city. It's just very strange. It's very strange. So I don't know. But again, that's $15 million that the city had to pay to these investors. That's not okay. Hey, where's my paper? It didn't load up. It's not okay. It's just not okay to me, folks, right? And so I wanted to show you some documents here, but maybe I'll show them on the next time. I'll post them up from real estate transactions over in Ludlow Park that have taken place. And I'll show you the company, and I'll show you the individual, and it has all these lawsuits suing the city left and right. And so that hurts the city. That hurts us. I think the guy does live here, actually. Right? But that hurts us. He's got all this property, all this money. And he can legally do that, I guess. He can legally do that. Trying to log in here. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look real quick, folks. You want to take a look at Ludlow over there? We should. I don't know why my pages didn't load up. Excuse me, pardon me. So 130 Fernbrook, right? I'm going to put this over here. Let's look at Property Shark. Right? And so this is another thing that they don't count on, because a lot of people don't have Property Shark, right? Why? Because it costs money. Right? So these programs cost money, and I know about them, right, Lakeisha? Next is Lexus, Thomson Reuters, get your information. And they record everybody that searched. And so you have your own account and stuff, so they know, and they will check you. They do. I got shut down a few times because they'll shut you down. Say, yo, what are you searching? Right? But I don't know. I think it was just the way I was searching. I wasn't doing anything crazy. Right? But yeah, so you get information on people. So here, I get information. This costs $100-something a month, like $170 a month. So not many people going to pay $170 a month. I mean, especially if you don't really need it, right? Let me get my head up out of there. And so if you have it, you can go on and you can see, okay, 130 Fernbrook. That's owned by 130 Fernbrook LLC. All right, who's 130 Fernbrook LLC? Let's first look at the contacts. Is there any contacts? Well, we know that this is located in Greenwich, Connecticut, 45 West Putnam. Okay, well, let's take that address and let's see who is connected to that street or that address. And maybe that'll tell us the owner. Anything? Let me see. Legal entity, geriatrics. Oh, there we go. 485. Oh. And so this is what I do. And who do I find? Lynn M. Ward. Bingo. Lynn M. Ward is the partner of Joe Cotter. Joe Cotter is the man that's building or owns the property that the studios are being built on. He's the one that went and bought up a bunch of Woodworth, Warburton, right? And he also owns some stuff there in Fernbrook. These guys are going to get fat, right? Meaning with money. They're going to make a lot of money transforming this city. And what's sad is that the bus depot is being forced to move. Do you know how many jobs the bus depot provides? A lot of Hispanic, I'm just got to say it, my Latinos, a lot of Hispanic people, hardworking, work for the bus company, will have to lose their job because Spano, his crew of investors, want that property to turn it into a park that will be called Leonard Spano Park. That's right. So Lynn Ward is the partner of Joe Cotter. I hear she's the money woman. That's what I was told. She's the one with the money. Joe Cotter's not. I don't know what that means, but that's what I hear. And so this is how I find some of my information, how I connect some of the dots. And it takes time. And I have other individuals, I'm not going to say more than that, but other individuals who have more time, who are dedicated, let's just say, dedicated to doing the research. And they have the tools. So when we look at the transactions, the title documents, what do we see here, right? Who's involved in this? City of Yonkers Industrial Development Agency. So you see why the mayor wants his sister-in-law, Jamie McGill Spano, the wife of Vinnie Spano, as the executive director, and why Nick Spano wants his partner in the lobbying firm, Empire Strategic Planning, as the president of the YIDA, because they deal in real estate. What information does the city clerk have? Vinnie Spano. He has the information on all the real estate. Who owns it? The deeds. They know when you die. And if you don't have anyone on top of it saying that's my mom's property, they're going to wait. Let it get into a tax situation where they have to auction it. But they don't auction it to the public. No. Why would they do that? These idiots don't know about this. They can't afford it anyway. Let's give it to our people. Hey, I got a nice one coming up. You want it? Give me this. You got it. So you have houses that are worth $500,000 being sold for $2,500, and then they sell it to themselves for $200 to another company just to kind of try to start cleaning the transactions, making it look more legit. These guys think they slick. This is what they've been doing. It's a real estate hustle. It's a real estate racket here in the city of Yonkers. And the Spanos have gotten to use taxpayer money, city property, in order to become rich. Ain't that something? That's the best way to do it. Smart people use other people's money. I've heard that many times. And so this is what's happening. How did Joe Carter end up with this property? Why is the Yonkers City Industrial Development Agency involved in it? Tax breaks? Is that what it's about? That's right. Tax breaks and other funding. Let's take a look at the mayor's property. His family owns 132 Fernbrook. This is important, right? Why is it that the people, Fernbrook? Why is it that the people of the city of Yonkers, the taxpayer, had to pay for the study, $500,000? I mean, these guys are the ones making all the money. They're making all the money. 132 Fernbrook, care of Leonard Spano. Right here, a little sliver. And this is Joe Carter's building. Or maybe this is the 132B. It's weird the way Joe Carter's building is here. I'll show you. So this is Joe Carter. Actually, no, this is Joe Carter's building. No, is it? No, this is Joe Carter's building. And then this is the Spano little box right here. What was that? Little box right here. All right. And right across here is where they want to put the park. Right here. This is where the bus depot is. And so they're going to push that bus company out that provides, 100 or so jobs. And the sad is that Corazon knows this. The wannabe mayor, she knows about this. She knows a lot of Latinos are going to lose their jobs, but she does not care. Don't play that Latino thing with me. I'm a Latino. I know better. Tasha Diaz knows. So she might serve you food, but she don't care if you have a job. And that's why she's probably serving you food, because she knows that she's creating situations for you to lose your job, and you're going to need her to give you food. And then you vote for her thinking she's your saving grace when she's your biggest enemy. I'm sorry, I just call it like I see it. Who owns the park that is soon to be Leonard Spano Park? Let's look at that in a second. Let's look at some transactions here. 132 Fernbrook, Mike Cater, lawsuit. FBI, you watching? I think you asked me about this. I didn't know much. I had to point you in a different, direction. Mike Cater, lawsuit includes the Ludlow Park project. I remember when I spoke about this and the Mike Cater lawsuit dropped, and he had some mentioning of this whole Ludlow situation, you know. Vinny Spano, he was a bit stressed about it. He called me, he was like, really like, hey man, you know, come on, I got something good for you. Like he had some info, he made it seem like he really had some real good information for me to get me on, because I didn't want to get on the phone. I'll be honest, folks, I don't really like talking on the phone, have this thing. I'd rather talk to you in person. That's just how I am. I'd rather talk in person. I'm not a big phone guy. And maybe I'm on it so much. But yeah, he got me to come down because I was in my room. I went down to my garage. I said, okay. He was in his backyard. I could tell he was smoking a cigarette or something. He was stressed out. And I think his concern was whatever's going on over here. And so this is where you have to look. And so this is where we've been looking, seeing what's going on here. He said, you know, that property, we've owned it forever, you know, and I thought you were going to give me some good information. You just wanted to talk about the Ludlow Park and 132 Fernbrook. Not sure why. Not sure why. But anyway, let's take a look at the lot across the street before I get up out of here. I just want to show you some of the research, some of the things that I use in my research. And I get a lot of information. And people point me, right? So it's not like I'm searching blindly. So shout out to the people that point me in the right direction. Who's Saviano Enterprises? Take a look at that guy. Take a look at the documents here. This guy owns 3 acres. He owns a lot of property. Let's see how many properties Saviano owns. Right here, boom. Boom. 102 Pier Street, 9 Water Grant Street. Oh, there you go, the Water Grant people. 78 Pier Street, 8 Water Grant Street. It says 8 Water Grant Street again. 12 Yerkes Place, 101 Pier, 111 Yerkes Place. Right, so these are the properties, 8 properties here. These are the ones he owns. I believe 78 Pier Street is the lot there where the bus depot is. Many of them he's owned since 2021. So he bought, you know, quite a few in 2021. Did anybody know those properties were up for sale? That happened during the pandemic. Owner since July of 2021. Interesting. Why so many? But did anyone know they were for sale? Did they? I don't know. Got lucky. I guess guy got lucky. Guess he got Terry Cohn. Anybody know about this company? I thought it had something to do with Phil Amacone. I heard his wife's name is Terry. Is, you know, Amacone, but I don't know if that's, you know. Somebody said no. I just took a shot in the dark because of that, right? And sometimes you'll see people do that with real estate companies, right? They'll, you know, like, I don't even know if I want to say one of mine. I was gonna say one of mine. I'll say one because I have multiple ones. I'll say one. Now I don't even want to say it. These guys are listening. Used to be an oil company. Oh, okay. So the oil company owned all that. See, this is why this is why I'm glad I showed this stuff, right? Because now I know. It used to be an oil company. But ironically, Phil Amacone and I believe his wife was named Terry, someone told me. And so I said, oh, shoot, that might be it. Because I've seen things like that, right? So, you know, let's say your wife's name is Jill and your name is Bob. You might do Job, you know what I mean? Job Realty, you know? So that's just ways that, you know, I look for things and stuff, you know. Oh, okay. Yes, an oil company and before. Okay, so then, okay, I got you. All right, thank you. Then that's helpful, right? That also saves me from going into, you know, nowhere, right? Heading down a dead end. Saves time, which a lot of times I don't have. But this is what I do. And when people point me in the right direction. So I guess this guy, you know, bought it back in 1998, 97-ish, right? And held on to it, bought a bunch of other stuff. But some of them he bought recently, though. This is what's strange. That's just what's strange. But anyway, this Saviano company is one of those companies I was telling you about that takes the city to court to have its property taxes reassessed, and it cost the city money, right? $15 million in 2020, 2021, that they had to borrow this money, borrow the money to pay this $15 million. Why? I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money when you talk about a city that has a $1.4 billion budget. Servino Enterprises versus the city of Yonkers. And there were a few of these, and they were all having to do with, the property reassess, right? So here we go. There's the word I was talking about. Sorry, folks. Right? Tax certiorari, please. Excuse me. That's okay. Sometimes I pronounce words wrong. I'm just not perfect. Happens. So there's several of these, and so this one right here was filed in 2022. There's some that have been filed as of January of this year from this company, and so that cost the city money, right? And so, I mean, listen, I'm just saying, just an interesting fact. So now a lot of that property is being bought up, and this guy Saviano is selling it to the city. And the city's buying up this property, and so they're going to be buying this here. See, this is you can see the pictures here. It's the bus depot. And so, the folks here at the bus depot, they don't want to move. Sershi, who's that? Sershi? They don't want to move. And a lot of people are relying on this job, but unfortunately, the developers don't care. They want this to be Leonard Spano Park. That's more important, right? And why? Why are they making a park there? Because they're taking away JFK. So they need some waterfront park. When you take away one parkland, you have to, replace it with another, and that's what's happening. But who is that park really for? Is it going to be for the Syracuse film students? And who is the downtown area for? That 900 Teutonia and John Rubo's Yonkers Brewing, as well as Zupa's and all those fancy schmancy stuff. Is that for the film people coming in to actually be the ones employed by Lionsgate, and not any of you folks who were all excited when Mayor Spano announced it, right? You were all excited. I know you were. And I'm sorry that you were sold a bill of goods. Or is that, did I say bill of goods? Goods, something like that. That's what you were sold. That's exactly what the people of City of Yonkers were sold. This is not for the people here. And we need to change it. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics, folks, giving you a little insight to some of my research and how I do things. I'm up out of here, folks. Have a beautiful and blessed night. 101 Pier, look, the other bus depot, man. 101 Pier. What is this here? 102 Pier. This guy owns everything. Nothing there. This probably used the oil for, all right, what is this? Saviano. I don't think that's the right picture. No, I think they got the wrong. They're going to do a bunch of developing there. Let me see. I put a bunch up. I don't know if it went through. It's a lot more documents. I'm going to put stuff up. You guys can help me look. If you find something, let me know. I appreciate it. People they have pointed me in the right direction. I found things that were very interesting that led to something. So don't hesitate. It may be something. It may not be something. Listen, you never know. So send me the info. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. We're on cracking, this political corruption here in the city of Yonkers. It's time to end it, man. It's really time to end it. It's gone beyond just the unfair competition in the workplace, among city jobs. I mean, it's now becoming a matter of, our overall well-being, the ability to afford or to find affordable housing, right? And the right to be able to have your kids out in the community without being hit by a drunk driver who will have people cover it up for him, who work for the city of Yonkers. And as Anthony DiMaggio said, that can only come from the high up. Something like that is not going to happen without the administration being okay with it. It's a fact. It's a fact. And that's what's sad, and we need to change that. And again, we don't have to stop progress. Mike Spano is not Yonkers. I don't care how long they've lived here. Mike Spano is not Yonkers. And it doesn't belong to any one family or any one person. Make sure you come out and vote this year. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. I appreciate you supporting, watching. Sometimes shots in the dark hit the bullseye sometimes, Freddie. I threw out some random darts about the CJ case while Mr. Solari was talking on your podcast, and man, did I win some cash. The Investigation Bureau of the YPD is on fire, according to my sources. They're scared about that. They're concerned. They know they messed up. They're going to put some townhomes there, luxury townhomes. They want to do that. Layla Goren wants to do that fancy schmancy catering place. But they really messed up with the CJ Hackett in their concern. They really are concerned. They know they had him that night. You guys know you had him that night. And I bet if that information gets out to me, there's people that are going to be fired. So no one's going to send me that info. But I promise you, if you send it to me, the people that would fire you are going to get fired first. So don't be scared, because CJ Hackett and his family deserve justice. He was a 16-year-old boy. 16-year-old boy. Think about that. I'm a huge believer in karma. A huge believer in karma. Do the right thing. If you know more, do the right thing. If you work for the Yonkers Police Department and you know more, do the right thing. Was he caught that night? 2.5 years is not enough. That was a conscious decision made. There's no accidents when you make a conscious decision to do something illegal, and it's illegal because someone can die, and someone did. And so do the right thing. I'm calling on everyone involved, everyone who knows something, to do the right thing for CJ, his family, for the entire city of Yonkers. And let's put this corruption to an end already. Do the right thing. You guys know you had him that night. You know you let him go for 3 days. You know you did. Working in City Hall. Meanwhile, families wondering who hit their kid and killed them. He's right up in City Hall. Probably placing his bets. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. We're going to continue to go and ride till we get justice. We're going to go hard. Rally. We're going to rally too, Mayor Spano. We're going to rally until we get justice, Mayor Spano. I'll go by myself. With a sign, by myself. Time for justice. Have a good night. I will. I'm going to be there by myself. Some journalism, Mary Calvi. Can you please help investigate this? It's not okay. It's not okay.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins.
I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics.